Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 198. It is the final day of the week, aka the Vampire Killer workout. I'm on my way to the gym right now, hoping to God I can squeeze everything in before they close. I'm feeling good, I'm on the way there, and I'm feeling fantastic. I don't know why I had to say that twice, but anyways, just like couscous, the food is so nice they named it twice. Anyways, to the main subject matter at hand today. Pride. Now, I had not originally planned to do this for today because I had nothing planned yet, but then I realized, oh yeah, I wanted to finish all of the sins, and I'm pretty sure I have not done Pride. So, Pride is the next one up. Last time I did Wrath, today we're doing Pride. Now, Pride is something that I could say I can relate to in a sense that I had something recently happen to me, which I will discuss probably in the voiceover, but that will be a story for after I talk about this little intro part. Now, Pride is an interesting one because it can vary for person to person, obviously, but it is something that you see a lot of examples of it instantly falling back on people, like on the internet. I feel like a lot of the time you end up seeing those videos of people, the instant karma style videos with a lot of pride things. There's also an entire group of people that pride themselves on certain things. I don't want to talk about that because it's a whole other subject for a whole other day, maybe a whole other platform, because we're not allowed to talk about things like that. But anyways, Pride in itself, regardless of what you believe or don't believe, is something that does affect people in various shapes, ways, and fashions. Because it is something that some people just don't have at all. Like they don't feel like they are not proud of themselves. They are not like they have zero pride in what they do or who they are or what their purpose is or anything like that. So that is something that's very interesting because when you don't have any, although it's not necessarily needed, you know what I mean? It is interesting to see the complete opposite, where that could really bring somebody down to a point where it's like you almost want them to get some so that way they can actually, get out of whatever rut they're in, which is interesting. And then obviously the other side where, you have the person that has so much hubris and pride in their own abilities where, they don't realize, they think their shit don't stink, but in reality it does, or they have their nose so far up their ass that it's coming out as a second head, So there are things like that happen where it's like two weird ends of the spectrum. Obviously, it's like you want to get somewhere in the middle, but I don't necessarily believe that it is one thing where you can lean on one or the other, just because obviously even being in the middle is kind of interesting. I don't know what I would say when it comes to pride, in that you'd want to have some pride in things, especially like yourself or your work or the things that you do or your life purpose or whatever it is. You have some, because if you don't have some of it, you're gonna be going down a rabbit hole of darkness, in which case you might probably end up black-pilled, and that's not gonna be a good time. But if you go the other way, where you become too prideful, too much of it, then you're going to be in a world where people don't like you, or you're going to get too big for your britches, where you don't realize that you're not going to be able to look down because you're so high up, and then all of a sudden you're going to be falling. So it's something like that. And I guess you do want to have like some type of middle balance. Like most of these things, specifically most of these sins, you don't want to have something where you're too one or the other. This one really is somewhere where it's hard to play both. It's very interesting to meet people that are in the middle. It usually seems nowadays either people are too prideful or they're not prideful enough. It's very weird to just meet regularly prideful people, if that makes any sense. I know that sounds weird, but I guess it's a trait or a quality and or a sin that people don't really even like think about. It's one of those things that like you have certain people that you see that have certain prides in certain things, and it makes sense, like nationalities and orientations or whatever the hell else, they may be, or in their work, and most of the time it's all right. It's almost like as if it is blinded by this fucking truck. It is almost as if it is different almost there, because there's a lot of people out there in the world who have no pride in anything that they do, which is quite sad almost. It's almost like, all right, brother, I understand that we're going the opposite direction with this, but Why are you doing that? To summarize here, before we get inside, maybe look at some definitions and maybe some other real world examples of this, I would just want to say that it is interesting to me that I would say I'm in the middle of it, but I do lean towards the not having enough pride in the things that I do. I think I should have more of it, because even though I am very aware of being too prideful, I'm also, I guess, not, my default is to be not prideful enough, which is interesting. Because out of all of the sins, you know, the 7 deadly sins, if you go to the extremes of one or the other, I try to lean, you know, try to stay within the middle so that way they don't destroy my life. But this one's a very interesting one. I guess it's more of a foreign thing to me than the other ones, because I lean a little towards not having it at all more than having it. But that's just a very strange thing. And I guess I haven't really thought about it until right now, because most of them, I'm not necessarily leaning towards doing them. But there is something where, like, let's say wrath, if I'm too wrathful, obviously that's not going to be good. But if I'm not wrathful enough, it's like you're going to have issues with people walking all over you. But I've already talked about that most likely. So it's just interesting to kind of look at and think about, this is probably something I could be more proud of things in my life and be more prideful of things. Just make sure that I don't lose myself in it. But we'll talk more about that and other things on the inside.
Alright, started this day off with overhead press, which was fantastic. But anyways, back to the main subject matter here. Pride, which, looking at pride in history, was a completely different Google search than I thought I would get. And also, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary here, there are multiple meanings. There are a lot of things here. So when we look up pride, noun, the quality or state of being proud. Such as, that's the first part, that's like part A, and then we move on to reasonable self-esteem, confidence, and self-satisfaction in oneself, self-respect. B, pleasures that come from some relationship, association, achievement, or possession that is seen as a source of honor, respect, etc. Exaggeration of self-esteem, conceit. Or 2, sometimes, pride, respect and appreciation for oneself and other members of a group, and especially marginalized group, solidarity within a group based on shared identity, history, and experience. B, pride, an event or series of events celebrating and affirming rights of equality and culture of LGBTQ people. A source of pride, a person or something that makes you feel proud. A group of lions living together, a showy or pretentious group, ostentatious or showy display, the most active, thriving, or satisfying stage of or period of time. Wow, that is so much more than something like wrath, which was very simple, easy, and blunt. It's kind of funny to see these two kind of going back and forth. And then looking at pride in the terms of history, it was often considered the worst of the 7 deadly sins, which is interesting. And I kind of get it in the sense that one example used here was in the Faustian play, Faust. The initial sin that the doctor had was pride, which allowed all others to flow in right after, which makes total sense. It's almost like the gateway sin, if that makes any sense, which is very, very interesting, because you do kind of see that mostly in that once you allow yourself to get into a certain position or certain level of self-confidence or whatever, where you're exceeding it almost to a point where it is too grand or too much, you see that people end up going down from that. They end up allowing other things to really consume them. Lust, wrath, greed, gluttony, those things, you know, the rich people basically, or the famous people. You see that situation happen all the time. For me personally, in my personal life, where my pride got hurt, where I felt like I was just an idiot, was at work. I had gotten a position, but then I was told I wasn't going to get the position anymore. And I felt at first that it was because I was just being an idiot, like I was genuinely too stupid to take the job. But it was told to me that no, it's because they would need to get somebody with a slightly different background than the one I had. So that did hurt my pride, but I wasn't destroyed by it. It wasn't something that killed me and or I harbored a grudge for it. It didn't make it so my pride was so hurt that I went into a state of anger or resentment, which is interesting because that is something about pride that I think not a lot of people think about, where if your pride gets hurt, you can go into like a deep, dark place. An angry place, and then if you have too much pride, going into that deep dark place of anger and all these negative emotions can be very, very, very easy and very abrupt too, especially if you are sensitive to it. And it sucks because most of the time when you talk to people like this, you can't really talk to them. They aren't really receptive to anything, to criticism whatsoever. And that's not a good thing at all, because even no matter where you are in life, you want to have some people to push back on some of your ideas, or else you're just going to have a bunch of yes men, and that's never been good in society. And on the other flip side, you also want to have people that do believe in you and believe in what you want in life and give you pride, or have pride in whatever you have or make, because then that way you can have some confidence, some semblance of doing good and all these other things that go along with not having enough pride, because it is a weird balance. It's like all of these things are truly a balance when it comes down to the sins, but this one in particular is truly, you have to have some semblance of a balance, because if you don't have any at all, you will be walked all over and you will not really have any motivation to do anything. But if you have too much, people will easily be able to just destroy you with even a fraction of a thought, really, or criticism. They can make you tumble down into the pits and despairs of hell very, very quickly.
Don't worry, baby. I'll be gentle. Ow, my pride.
And we're back! Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed. None. Exercises skipped. Also none. Got everything in. Even though the gym was closing at the very end, so I had to hurry the fuck up for that last set. But it is what it is. I got everything in, so I'm very happy about that. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. Watching somebody go through an exit that isn't an exit. No, I'm just watching that right now, I think. Back to the main subject matter at hand. Pride. Pride is one of the more interesting of the 7 deadly sins, because of the fact that it is something that, for some, it is their downfall, but not as much as it once was. I feel like it was once more of a thing than it is now. It is still something to be of a downfall. You know, social media can really exacerbate that entire thing, but it isn't as frequent, or maybe it is as frequent and we just don't notice. I don't know. That may be something that I might have to look into. But out of all of them, I think this is one of the ones that I think, as long as you do have some self-reflection and aren't really ticked off. I feel like wrath is probably the worst, but maybe that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. And it will be, actually. I will go down that rabbit hole and compare them and contrast them all. But for pride, it is something that I've noticed that people do tend to deal with, but also most of the time it is something that is exacerbated by the internet, but also can be taken away by the internet immediately. If people have pride in something and people hate you for having that pride, they will tell you about it. It is very simple and easy how quickly the internet will destroy someone. As quickly as they come up, they will destroy them so they can see them in the ground. It is something that is a very interesting part of the internet because it happens all the time. And pride is nothing to be ashamed of. I feel like I have to say that because there are some things that there are some people who will be shameful of just their existence, and that is nothing to be ashamed about. You know, you have to have some pride in yourself, because if not, you will have a bad time in life. Whatever your projection out of yourself into the world is what others see you as. So you got to be careful about that. That's why I have to say that with some caution. Have some pride in yourself. You know, make sure that you have some pride in either your work, your school, your life, something, so that way you aren't hopeless. And if you don't believe in anything like that, then, or at least in yourself, then who's gonna believe in you, right? You know, it's that entire thing. But pride is an interesting one. With that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. If you have a story about somebody whose pride took them down or something along those lines, that'd be interesting. Or somebody who did not have enough pride in their work, even though they should have, see them waste their well away because of the fact that they did not have pride and confidence in their work. So then that way it got wasted or wilted away. A very unfortunate thing. But maybe we'll talk about wasted talent on a different day. But that's a whole other subject for a whole other day. But please like, comment, and subscribe. Please Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please stay safe out there. Keep it heavy. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!